In a June meeting, the Financial Action Task Force declared that South Africa has addressed 8 out of the 22 action items required to be removed from greylisting. The National Treasury, however, does not believe that South Africa will be able to meet all 22 action items before June next year. What work is done and what work is yet to be done? National Treasury's Ismail Momoniat joins me now to give us the full view on this. Ismail, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. This report that 8 of the action items had been ticked off, is this a report that excites South Africa and the National Treasury, or is it one that is to be lamented given that there are still about 12, 14 more items to go?
Yeah, no, let me just correct you. We're still optimistic that we will get off the grey list by June next year. It's doable. It's going to be very tough. And yes, the progress we've made has been steady and slow and steady. But that's just the way the FATF assessment process works. We now have 2 reporting deadlines, one in September and one in January next year. And it's at those where all 13 are due, and one that's a bit overdue from June. So we are hoping that in September we could at least meet most of the 8 plus 1, that's 9, that's due in September, and then that will leave 5 left for January. It's going to be tough because the toughest are left to the end. And what FATF does is they look at whether our improvements can be sustained over time. So though in some instances they've been happy with the progress we've made on the 14, but we've got to still demonstrate that we can sustain it every 4 months as we report. If we were to get all 14 done by January next year, then they would decide to do a site visit around April next year. And if that goes successfully, then we will be taken off the grey list in June next year.
FATF had very specifically in its initial report lamented South Africa's crime and financial intelligence strength. How much progress has been made in those action items?
So we have been strengthening our system progressively. The question is, have we strengthened it sufficiently to meet the FATF standards with regard to implementation? So, for example, what they want to see is that, firstly, the systems issues are sorted out. And I think those are generally being sorted out. For example, that the police routinely use financial intelligence from the Financial Intelligence Center. Secondly, that our beneficial ownership system is functioning. Thirdly, that our financial sector and non-financial sector regulators are also, their system is working to ensure banks, insurance companies, other financial institutions, as well as estate agents, lawyers, and so on, are also complying with anti-money laundering laws. But what we also then have to do is to demonstrate that not only are we recovering funds that have been stolen through, but also that we have a sustained increase in investigations and prosecutions related to serious and complex money laundering crimes, including bringing to book your third-party professional enablers and professional networks.
Can I just double-click in on that, Ismail?
There's also measures to shadow financing and so on.
Can I just double-click in that? Do we in South Africa have the depth of forensics capabilities, both from a capacity perspective, but also from a capability perspective, to be able to tackle, prevent, and prosecute sufficiently large-scale, complex financial crime transactions?
Look, definitely not. But compared to where we were in 2019 following state capture, we have been improving progressively. And to get off the grey list, we need to just demonstrate that if we've put in place the systems and we're beginning to do this work on a systematic basis. We still have to strengthen the system much more, given how widespread and how ingrained corruption has become in South Africa. But hopefully we will have the systems. On the forensic capability side, much still needs to be done to get that capability and to use that capability more effectively.
Yeah. Which of the remaining 14 items on the task force list would be the most difficult to overcome? You said the most difficult are left for last, but which of those keep you up at night?
So there's two of them that's related to investigations and prosecutions of serious and complex money laundering cases, and another one that's related to terror financing. So those two, I would say, are probably the toughest. But linked to that, there's also some tough standards for financial sector regulators when it comes to taking action against hawaladas and sort of your informal money transfer systems. I would say, and there's one related to beneficial ownership as well, whether we act quickly enough to act against those that don't comply with the laws we have in place.